So let's start with divisional round weekend and a couple of props here. And what we can do, we can tether your C.J. Stroud over 34.5 pass attempts there, Bobby, with the idea of the difference between playoff football handicapping and regular season handicapping.
I think you really have to look at playoff handicapping through a little bit different of a lens. You almost have to look at the game script more so than the number itself, because a lot of these lines are juiced up. The public's going to bet as many overs as possible. But if you can get a handle on the game script, then you can start making sense of these lines. So brings us over to Stroud, over 34.5 pass attempts. Minus 125 is what I got it at. Just looking at the weather, because that was a big factor last week. 27 degrees, sunny in Baltimore. It's a 9.5-point spread. I personally think Baltimore rolls in this game. If you follow that line of thinking, then this play at 34.5 pass attempts makes sense. He hit this number in 4 of 6 losses, 2 of which were double-digit losses. Now, I don't really see Houston establishing the run game this week against the Ravens defense, 7th overall in opponent rush attempts per game. They're going to rely on what got them there, and it's C.J. Stroud. I can't blame him. I love the story. I got a little bit of money sprinkled on the Rookie of the Year at 9-1. Baltimore is going to eat up the clock offensively. They're going to force Houston to become a little bit more reliant on the pass, especially if you're playing from behind. You start to accumulate some of those 3-and-outs trying to establish the run, things become dire. So Ravens top 10 in third down efficiency. Third down run efficiency. And Stroud's hit this in 3 of his last 5 regular season games. One stat that really stood out to me that kind of brought this home was Baltimore is second in the league in opponent pass attempts per game. They average 37, third overall at home for as far as home and road splits, and they're top 10 in third down efficiency. So I can see Stroud and this Texans team going pass heavy because they're going to be playing from behind, and they may not have the ball as much as they had in the past.
Bobby, before we go further into some of the other games, kind of distinguish for people, if you would, please, the difference between regular season and playoff handicapping.
You got to rely a little bit more on the stars, and it's harder in player props because the lines get so juiced. So a line may open at, I don't know, we'll look at like at Amon-Ra St. Brown. It opens up at 82.5 receiving yards. I think by close is 87, 88.5. But for good reason. You're going to want to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers in a win-or-go-home situation. So it may be counterintuitive to say, I got to bet the star, I got to bet them on their over. They're going to get more targets. They're going to be the focus of game plans when you're an offensive coordinator. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's more of an art than a science, I would say, when it comes to the playoffs. Game script is a big part of that. And last week, I was convinced Dallas was going to stomp all over Green Bay, ruin my Jayden Reed play. Jayden Reed, I thought was going to go over on receiving yards, on receptions, playing from behind. Didn't happen that way, and the play went to hell. So you almost have to handicap the game along with the player prop. But if you get right, it should be aces all the way.
Patrick, just to kind of...
Yeah, the game script is a tremendous descriptor for new bettors to kind of think the game through and then work backwards and applying it to your props. Go ahead, Amal.
No, I was just going to say, to his point, even though Dallas didn't play well offensively, CeeDee Lamb still wound up with 17 targets, 9 catches, and $110.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, good stuff to start here. Bobby Stanley, Pickwise, player prop analyst. So let's go, you know what? Let's go Saturday night. Aaron Jones, you're going to go under the 16.5 rush attempts for the Packer running back.
We do bet unders over here in the prop shop. Aaron Jones under the 16.5 rush attempts. He's had 20-plus rush attempts in 4 straight games. You want to know what they all had in common? The Packers never trailed at any point in those games. And I think that's going to change on Saturday against the 49ers. 49ers allowed the fewest rush attempts per season per game. And the defense, again, is well rested. We're getting both of these Ravens and San Fran team coming off a bye. 2 weeks almost for San Fran because they didn't really play too much in that Week 17 against L.A. Niners, dominant offense in terms of time of possession. They're 4th overall in first quarter time of possession. So now you don't have the ball less to start the game, and you're playing a little bit from behind. 7th overall in terms of minutes, and 5th overall in opponent first half scoring. All of these things align for Green Bay to be playing from behind early. This number at 16.5 just seems too high, and I'm buying high on this number with him going 4 straight games at 20-plus. It's easy to do that when you're against Carolina and you blow the doors off Dallas and you can run the ball in the second half. So I'm fading Aaron Jones here, as I think it's going to be a struggle for Green Bay early. If you look at the first half spread, San Fran's given 6.5. Again, if you're down 7 or more in the first half, how apt are you going to be running that ball heavy on the road?
The Detroit Lions playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. Tell us your thoughts on the game, and then you've got a prop on the Lions tight end and Sam Laporta on his catches.
So I'm a Rams fan. I got to be completely transparent with you guys. So last week was a tough pill to swallow, but I can be as objective as possible. The Detroit Lions were the better team, and they dominated that game up front, offensive and defensive line. They had 21 points to start the game. They were open. The offensive line was opening up holes. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for them to run the ball successfully against Tampa as it was against the LA Rams last week. I also know that the Bucs blitz more than average. They're one of the blitz-heavy teams. We saw it last week against Philadelphia. Goff against the blitz has been positive, and that leads me to Sam Laporta. I got this line at 3.5 this morning at 9 a.m. By 11 a.m. Eastern time, it already moved to 4.5 for plus money odds. This is something I like to do a lot, with the people I bet with the betting community. I do ladders. So if I like 3.5, I'll go 1 unit. Then I'll go 4.5 for half a unit. Then I'll go 5.5 for a quarter of a unit. And when you hit right. So Bucs giving up double-digit targets to tight ends. Bucs have given double-digit targets to tight ends 7 games this season. They give up the most targets per game to opposing tight ends. When you're picking up that blitz, you're going to want to get the ball out of your hands as fast as possible, and I think that's where Laporta comes in. If you can get a 3.5 somewhere, jump on it. I still like it at 4.5, and you could probably get it at plus 125. So I like Laporta this week. He was more of a decoy last week. They didn't really need him. They had so much success with their wide receivers in the run game against that secondary. You almost forgot he was there in the second half when they got more conservative. I think he's going to be needed to take down this Bucs team and that blitz-heavy defense of Todd Bowles. So give me receptions for Laporta.
Over 3.5 and a week healthier. The word out of Detroit is Laporta's feeling good. The usage should go up. Great information so far, Bobby Stanley. Let me do this. You see 2 minutes left, so I'm going to just give you your 2 NBA props for tonight, and you can expand. Luke Kennard, under 12.5 points, and Emmanuel Quickly, over 5.5 assists, Bobby.
Kennard's a pretty easy sell for me. It's under 12.5 points against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's been starting the last 5 games. He's hit this in 2 of 4. When I handicap NBA, I want to get down to your points per minute. This one is very easy to project. He's averaging 0.42 points per minute. For him to hit this line, he needs to play 31 minutes. He's only done that 3 times this season against a Timberwolves team that defends the above-the-break 3 better than any team in the league. They're top 3 in field goal percentage, and I think top 5 in 3-point attempts allowed from above the break. That's Kennard's bread and butter. He's only hit this line twice. He's hit this line once the entire season when he has 2 or fewer 3-pointers made. So I'm going Kennard on the under against the T-Wolves. And as an NBA bettor, we always have the blowout in our back pocket. So that's a possibility.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.